Last month, the World Food Program announced that it can no longer provide humanitarian aid to nearly 1/3 of the more than 6 million people it was planning to feed this year in South Sudan. The East African country has been ravaged by flood and drought. The announcement leaves millions of lives hanging in the balance. CBS News' Deborah Patta has traveled across the country to witness the devastating effects of its hunger crisis.
South Sudan has been on the front line of climate change, battered by floods and drought, leaving millions of people starving in this African nation. Then came Russia's war in Ukraine, and a crisis became a catastrophe, forcing the World Food Program to make drastic cuts. We're heading off to the worst hit area in South Sudan, where there are children in desperate need of aid. And if they don't get it, they could be within days of dying. Famine stalks these villages. At a makeshift clinic, mothers bring their emaciated babies to see nutritionist Mona Sheikh.
So we see she's already in the red, severely malnourished. Yeah, I'm afraid, any child like that, we are very close to losing them. Really? Within days.
On the opposite side of the country, the greenery is deceptive. This village is actually drought-stricken. Life was hard enough here long before Russia invaded Ukraine. With no rain for over 18 months, nothing grows in this parched earth.
It's so dry, eh?
And subsistence farmer Nachopara Lemuria can no longer live off the land. Sometimes I collect wild berries, she says, to quiet the hunger. Her own mother starved to death. She's convinced she's next. Without food, she warns, you won't find me alive next time you visit. She relies on rations from the World Food Program, but that lifeline has been severed.
This is it, the last distribution for the year. After this, the community must survive on their own.
Acting country director Adayinka Badejo says the war in Ukraine has sent food and fuel costs soaring, which means they can feed less people.
So we've taken very, very difficult decision to suspend assistance to 1.7 million people. It's not that they're not in need, they are in need, but we're having to take from the hungry to feed the starving.
The nearest market is over 50 miles away, but prices are up nearly 100%. Napir Marco also has no food aid and can't afford to eat. We heard they stopped the aid, she says, because the white people are at war. Amidst the misery, a burst of rain. For the moment, it's a blessing. But Lemuria knows it won't be enough to grow anything. Things are so bleak she can't afford to clothe some of her children. Her last bag of aid will last barely 2 weeks. For CBS Saturday Morning, Deborah Patta, Capoeira, South Sudan.
I think that quote, we had to take, did you write it down?
We had to take food from the hungry
to feed the starving.
Yeah.
I think it is hard for so many of us to even wrap our heads around.
And they've been warning about it since the spring, that they could see it coming when the Ukraine war began. Remember, there's so much wheat, sunflower oil, other grains. They're working furiously to try to figure out a way to get it out because the next harvest is coming. They got to empty the silos. And if they don't do it soon, there's concern about political instability across Africa, the Middle East, Asia, where they rely so much on that Ukrainian grain.
Well, and the fact is that it's going to get worse, and you see these families and these children, and what options do they have next?
None. And it is a reminder, I know we said this every day during the pandemic, that we are all so interconnected. And
thousands of miles away.
Right, this is exactly what it is. It's the domino effect of everything. And help
thanks to Deborah Patta and her team, of course, for getting out there and doing that for us.
Yeah.